Temach Dovid עבדך מהרה תצמיח. Karne Torah Mishua Secha. So this is really it's the final bakasha in terms of bakashas. You can have Shema Kelein is also bakasha. It's also a request. But Shema Kelein, the more the bakasha is Shlomo's good. It's bakasha is general. But Temach Dovid Avdecha is for Moshiach ben David. So before Yerushalayim Ircha v'Chisei David Avdecha Meher Tzatzmiach is Moshiach ben Yosef, and then Temach Dovid Avdecha is Moshiach ben David. So the question is, some of the questions are, Temach Dovid Avdecha Meher Tzatzmiach Karen Torah Matzmiach Ken Yeshua. Now the language that you're using in the tefillah in this bracha is lashon tzemach, a language of growth, that it's sprouting. Yeah. So why now? Granted that Chazal said the Master says in Eicha that tzemach shmai, the name of Moshiach, one of the names of Moshiach is tzemach shmai. But why do we refer specifically to Mashiach as Temach? Matzmiach Keren Yeshua. Matzmiach Keren Yeshua, you're asking for David HaMelech, you're asking for Mashiach. So you say, Baruch Atah Hashem, Bias Mashiach, Mashiach ben David. What is Baruch Atah Hashem, Matzmiach Keren Yeshua? You're asking for the Keren. Also, the language is interesting because you're using the language of a Keren. Keren is a horn. And it's like sprouting from the head. The Karne Torah Mishua Secha, that the Keren, the horn of David HaMelech, of Mashiach, should sprout, should grow. So the question is, what exactly are we referring to specifically? We're saying Meir Tzatzmiach. Yeah, there is lashon pricha. Correct. Well, why are we using specifically this lashon of tzmicha, specifically over here in the Shemona Esrei? There's other lashonos. The Ramak Gada writes that he quotes the Zohar, and the Zohar says that Tchilas HaGeula is first Shachar and then Oir. That the Geula, the process of Geula, of redemption, is first that it's like early morning, Shachar, and it's still dark, but it's like the Alisa Shachar, it's getting light, and it become lighter and lighter. And he quotes the Zohar, the Ramak says it's more connected with the Spheres, how the Spheres are going from one to the next. And this is really lashon of the Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi says that Mashiach is asalavik kimo means slowly. It's that it's going to slowly come to Or Gula. The light of Gula of Mashiach is going to come slowly in the process. But that's we'll see. That's a little shtickle problematic. Certainly according to the Rambam. Because the Rambam, this is the whole svar of saying Asata de Gula, that is a process, that the Gula is actually a process. But the Rambam doesn't paskin like that. The Rambam paskins that Mashiach will, Yibana Amigdash, and it's going to be more instantaneously. It's not like a process. So we have to see how that works. Also, what's the lashon Yeshua? You say 3 times the word Yeshua. Tezmiach Keren Yeshua, Karne Torah Mishua Secha. What is the idea of Yeshua? What is the idea of this idea of salvation? So, B'chlolos is very general. This bracha is talking about mitzapel Yeshua, a person's tzapisel Yeshua. The Arizal also writes that when you say this bracha, you should mechav and you should have intention. The Gemara says that one of the first questions that are asked is Nesat Be'amuna and tzapisel Yeshua. One of the questions are asked if you awaited redemption, you are mitzapel Yeshua. So when you say when you're saying this bracha, you should have kavanah, you're mitzapel Yeshua. So mitzapel Yeshua means that you're hoping, you're waiting for Gula. Waiting for Gula means both Gula pratis and Gula klalis. The Gula pratis is in your own life, you're mitzapel Yeshua, and for redemption, for some type of salvation, and for Gula klalis, it should be a general Gula Klalius, a general redemption for the world. This is tzapisa Yeshua, a mitzapel Yeshua. So in thinking about this idea that it's tzapisa, that the idea is of awaiting or hoping or yearning or longing, it really fits as the final tefillah also, because if your bakashas is your bakashas, you're asking, you're requesting, let's say, for health or for parnasa, whatever you're asking for, and then the culmination of the asking is that I'm at tzapa for this Yeshua. I'm hoping for this. Let's say a person's sick, and then you say Temach Dovid Avdcha. So you're saying the Temach Dovid Avdcha is I'm at tzapa Yeshua. I'm at tzapa what Yeshua? For which type of Yeshua? If it's parnasa that I said before, then it's tzapa Yeshua for parnasa. If it's for refuah, then I'm tzapa Yeshua for refuah. So it's like the culmination of the tzapisa Yeshua. Tzapisa Yeshua is a general statement that you're mitzapa, you're yearning for Hashem should give you the salvation for anything you need. Begashim Ruchim is anything that you need. It's your mitzapa. Sometimes in original, some of the older Siddurim, like the Siddur of Sadigan, which is one of the earliest printed Siddurim, the Yerushalayim Ircha and Temach Dovid are one. So it's not Moshiach ben Yosef, Moshiach ben David, two separate ones, but it's part of the same thing.
How's it showing us?
It's still Gimish Manas, because the question is how to be. Now it's Tisha. Yeah, well, Lashinim. So the Lashinim is lav dafka added. The Gemara, from the language of the Gemara, it looks like it was Chazar. The Gemara asks that who knows the bracha of La Lashinim? Who knows this bracha for the minim? And then Shmuel HaKatan was Masad this bracha, which means our Gamaliel asked the Shaila, which one way of learning the Gemara is that it was originally part of the Shmanasa. Then it was lost, meaning it was not needed so much, and then it was Nachsar, because then it was Meshumad. I said, like, remember when we learned Lamashim, it was said for different people. It was at Meshumadim, Lenatzarim, it was said for different people. So when it was lost, it was reintroduced as of Lam Al-Shinim, specifically in the time of the Churban, which was a big issue of Masrim, so that was that. But the way we're following is that Moshiach ben Yosef is, like we spoke, I guess, when we spoke last time about Moshiach ben Yosef. Moshiach ben Yosef is a geula within Golus, and then Moshiach ben David is a geula from Golus. It's a different nekuda. Even the Moshiach HaPrati, even the specific Moshiach ben David is Moshiach ben Yosef means that the situation is sort of is like tolerable. It's a tolerable situation. Moshiach ben David means that it's a redemptive. That it's the whole restriction, the whole galus actually disappears. That's so Moshiach ben Yosef is b'soich galus. That's what Moshiach ben Yosef does. Muhammad in galus. Muhammad's gegel magig is Moshiach ben Yosef dafka. Okay, so and this tefillah. So what are we asking for? We're, like we said a few times already, it's very very important to understand that when we ask for refuah or ask for livelihood, for health, we're not only asking that it should happen in the future tense, but in present tense, which means that we should feel hopeful. This is also, in other words, when you feel hopeless, is that not only we should be hopeful, and therefore the hope should be resolved, and we should have Mashiach ben David, we should experience what it means to feel hopefulness without being hopelessness. That's the Tnuah. This, like I said many times, the Medrash says that it's connected to a particular event in history, and the Levush brings it down as well. So the story that's connected to this bracha is when Klal Yisrael goes to Kiryas Yamsuf. So when they're going through Kiryas Yamsuf, then is Kil Shlascha Kvina Kol Hayom, because the idea of Kiryas Yamsuf, the idea of splitting the sea, is that really what the process of splitting the sea is that there's a yesh in one side, which is the yesh of klipa, of constriction, which is Mitzrayim. They have to get to Eretz Yisrael, which is the yesh of Kedusha. That's going to be the yeshus of Kedusha, the fullness of Kedusha in their experience of life, the fullness of life in a correct way. Between every yesh and yesh, there's an ayin. And the ayin is Kiryas Yamsuf, is the yam. So they go into the yam, they go into the Bechinas ayin, which is nothingness, emptiness. And that was really supposed to be the process. It's supposed to go from yesh ayin to yesh, right into Eretz Yisrael. Okay, then the story didn't go correctly in the same way, so it had to be in the middle of 40 years. But the real process had to be, like we learned in this week's parsha about Loischa, with the two nuns. That really the process was they have to go straight into Eretz Yisrael. So that means that between the Yesh of Mitzrayim, which is Yesh of Klippa, and the Yesh of Eretz Yisrael, which is Yesh of Kedusha, the Ayin is the Bechina of Yam. And when a person is over b'yam, that's why it's Ki'ilu, it's a mikveh, and it's the absence of every Yesh, and in the place of the mikveh is the place of the Kivui. Mikveh Oisius Kaveh, which means that in the place of the mikveh, which is the Mayim of Kaveh, which is when the place of nothingness, that is the place where there's hope. In other words, when you're living in a particular Yesh, I know exactly what it is. There's no Kivui, there's no hope. This is what it is. This is my life. Fine. If I'm living in the higher state of my life, it's also my life. Where's actually kaveh? Where's hope? Hope is dafka makom hachoshech. That's where hope is created. Hope is created in a place where there's the absence of something, a form, of an absence of what I think should be, and I hope that it's going to be better. Right? I'm a kaveh. I have betachon. I have trust. I have hope. So in the place of the mayim, in the place of the choshech, that's particularly the way the oil is niskala, right? That's the in the place of the choshech, in the place of darkness. That's where the hope is. That's where also the shevet that's connected is shevet God, which God, besides that Eliyahu Agiladi, that Eliyahu Navi is connected to shevet God. How exactly? Because the Gemara also says he's a kohen, so it could be that it's from his mother's Agiladi. But let's just say that Eliyahu is connected to shevet God and a kohen. He's both. So that's also the kaveh. He brings the hope that there'll be redemption, but also the word God, Gimel-Dalet. We spoke about this many times, but it's important to this chaza. The idea of Gimel-Dalet, the shirish of when the letters Gimel-Dalet come together, it represents a hemshech of something, a continuation of something. Let's say if you take Gimel-Dalet, everything Gimel-Dalet. The words Gimel-Dalet. So if you take, let's say, the word Geder, or Gidud, or Aguda, all those words, the shoyish of this is Gimel-Dalet. Even in Lashon Chazal, you have Gud Asik, Gud Achis. What it means is that this thing is extending further. That's why it's Marchiv Gulas. God is Marchiv Gulas Yisrael. The idea of Marchiv is that you're here and you're extending it into further. That's really what a Gadol is. A person that's a Gadol is a cotton. Cotton is Ketua, something that's broken apart. And a Gadol is someone that has a continuation. Meaning I'm here and I'm moving outward. So this... Huh? Yeah, Kagadasham Moishchim is Davar Nimsha. Yeah. So this is the idea of God, correct? It's also Gimel-Dalet. It's the idea of a connection. So what is it? The same idea. That's what kaveh. The kaveh, the kivui is a kav, is a line of a connection. I'm here, and there's a hope in the future, a possibility, and I'm making a line connecting to something that's over there. It's also connected to Chodesh Av, because it's all the Chadash Hashana. If you have over here, let's learn a shtickle from the Maral. So the Maral writes that Ba'omek like this. So the way we think about it is that there's Choshech, there's darkness, or there's Galus, there's Churban, there's destruction, and then in the place of the Churban, in the place of destruction, you're shoyef and you have hope, you're makava for Gula. So it's like a hechatimsa. In other words, in order for me to have hope, I have to have the absence of hope. I have to have a situation that's choshech. And because it's choshech, because it's dark, therefore I live with hope. And if I didn't have the darkness, I wouldn't have to live with hope, because it's exactly what it is. I don't need it. So, but the darkness is only there to reveal that I need hope, but the darkness doesn't actually create the hope, right? Or to say it even more, the darkness is not the binyan of the oil of Moshiach. Is the building of the light of Moshiach is not through the darkness. It's just the darkness is the hope of that I want that it'll get to another place. So you're in a state of destruction, of churban, right, or darkness, and I hope that it's going to get better. Right, I have betachon that it's going to get better. I have trust that it's going to get better, and the better is a reality that's not dependent on me, but I hope that it will be better. And in the place of the choshech, I'm throwing a kav. I'm throwing like a line that's allowing me to attach to another possibility of the future. Let's say I'm struggling right now. Tomorrow, God willing, everything will be worked out. I'm throwing a line to my future, and I'm holding on to my future, and I'm being pulled by that future. Right. So the oil of Mashiach would be the light of Mashiach. The oil of Gula would be We're in a state of chayshech. We're in a state of galus, in a state of exile, and we're stuck in this place. We know that it's going to be one day better. We throw a kav, we throw a line to the future, and that pulls us out. That helps us get past the present struggles to get to a place of the future. But the Maharal says it's actually much deeper, which is that the binyan of the oir of Geula is dafke through the chayshech and dafke through the kivuy. The kivuy itself actually creates the oir of Moshiach. Let's read what he has to say. So it's based on this idea that it's based on a medrash that says that B'Tisha B'Av was Noel Mashim Shal Yisrael. That in Tisha B'Av, the time of the Churban, that the medrash says that right b'zman HaChurban, when the Beis Hamikdash was nachrav, Mashiach was born. Nishmas Mashiach was born right away. There was actually a person that was also born, Gada, in Bavel, Chizkiah. That's a historical person also that Klal Yisrael actually thought was Mashiach. It's not even a metaphorical thing. They actually thought this person will be Mashiach, and he came to try to save there shouldn't be a Churban. It's a whole long story. But Pnimius, it means that the Nishmas Mashiach was born Bizman HaChurban.
He was born in that year during the...
Yes, there was actually a kid.
At a later point he tried to save him?
No, he went there to Yisrael and he tried to make peace. It's a whole his son. I'm sorry, this guy who was a Reish Galusa in Bavel came to Eretz Yisrael to try to make peace with the Romans and Lepoil. He had a son on Tisha B'Av on Shabbos, and it was like a ganze maisa. And they named him Mechizki, and they thought he'll be the Goyal. So it's actually a historical story. Also, not only that was a.
There's like Al Pi Kabbalah, there's the Indian of Ner being the Yichud that you were talking about this past Shabbos, and that essentially the minute that it was no longer lit b'tachtonim, it created the need for Mashiach.
Correct. So creating the need for it is one thing, which means you need it now. Yeah. That's one way of saying it. But the Maharal actually says it's much more boimic. It's not only you need it now. Look what he says. It's not only that you need it now. It's not now that there's no Beis Hamikdash. So now you need the Arshal Mashiach, which is the future Mashiach, which is the future Beis Hamikdash. He says no. Ki lefi aheda yischadesh. It's underlined there. That l'chein atoy koydem avias ha'Yeshua mitzias ha'gomer. Mashal za beitza koydem sheisava efrech unifsedes. Lefi kawi im lo. This he says. The hefsed itself, the absence and the churban itself is the reason of the haviyah achrona. In other words, in order to create, let's just think what the Maharal say. He gives an emotional of a beitza, that an egg that. Churban Beis Hamikdash Shibas Haviyaseh. This is it's something more. If you have something that's let's say call it like a seder shas or like a shalshelas. You have like something that's grades of something, right? And there's so in processes of grades, you can only go from A to B to Z, from Aleph to Beis to Gimel. You can only get from one step at a time. If you want to create something that's 1,000 times greater than that, the only way to do that is actually to have a destruction. And I'm going to give you an example. If I want to make this table, and I want to make it into a better table, I don't know how I would do that. I have to be a carpenter. But let's say I would want to make a better table. I would stretch the legs maybe a different direction, and it would still be the table, but it would be even a much better table. But if I want to make the table into a chair, the only way to make a table into a chair, I have to deconstruct the table. So the destruction of the table is the ability that allows for the ability of the construction of the chair. In other words, if I'm just a table, I want the table to get even better, so I expand the table, make it a little better, add a few feet here, a few feet there, but it's all within the structure of the table. I cannot create from a table a chair if I don't destroy it first. So the destruction of the Churban Habayis, this is why according to the Maharal, this is the reason why it's a Yom Tif. Tisha B'Av is a Moyed, Karalai Moyed. It's a Yom Tov as well. Why? Because the only way the bigger oil can be revealed is dafka through the churban of the second, through the churban of that to create something even that's more greater. But in order to create something that's even greater, you have to destroy the first thing, and then you have to be nivna the oil of Moshiach. Not only different, different is different mela. You want to create something that is greater than the first thing. No, I'm saying not greater. Greater like in Kamos and Echos. Something that's completely in a different type of thing. Just think about it in terms of ein arech. If you want to create, even let's say in your own life, let's say you're saying it's Reb Zera is shakach Talmudai, he fasted 40 times to forget his Talmud when he came from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, because the oil of Eretz Yisrael of Talmud Yerushalmi was a much higher oil. So if you would have came with the prism, with the understanding of Talmud Bavli, he would never really understand the Talmud Yerushalmi. The only way that allowed him to understand Talmud Yerushalmi is if he fasted and forgot Talmud Bavli. So there was a churban, and the churban allowed for the possibility of something new. In other words, so the Maral is saying it's not only that it had to be this way because there's a churban, then it's going to be because, like you say, because there's a churban, so now there has to be a Beis Hamikdash. No, he's saying for the oil of the Gilui of Mashiach to be revealed, there has to be a churban, there has to be a destruction of what was prior.
Right, because what was prior was the ultimate yichud when both lights were lit.
Which the ultimate yichud? No, the Bayis Sheni was not the ultimate yichud. The Bayis Shlishi is the ultimate yichud.
But by the fact that there was even like the first Beis Hamikdash created once the second one was destroyed, that now until then, because that existed, that every day that goes by that it doesn't exist fosters the need for it.
Avada. That's clear. That's clear. But the Maral is saying something even more.
Not sequential.
He's saying it's not. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's not sequential. It's not just because I have an absence, so therefore I have to create it. He's saying the absence allows for the possibility of something to be created, the opportunity to be created.
Like a pit of a fruit. You put it in.
That's what he says. Yeah, that's the same thing there. A seed. It has to be destroyed in order to be create something more. Temach. That's a temach. Let's go over here. There's a The next Maramakim is like this. There's a medrash. It's the same Nekuda, but it's from the Baal Shem. The Rebbe speaks about this a little more clearly. There's a Chazal that says that Allah Ari b'Mazal Ari v'Charav Ariel, that the Ari, which is Nebuchadnezzar, is Allah B'Ari, which is Mazal Ari, in the month of the zodiac of Ari of Leo, and destroyed the base of Mikdash is called Ariel. Almanas. Sheyave Ari is HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chodesh Ari v'yivna Ariel. So it was Almanas. So what's Pshat Almanas? It means that the whole purpose of the destruction is not that there's a destruction and then later there'll be the Gula. The reason for the destruction was there could to be a higher construction. You hear what you're saying? Yeah.
It has to be two to be destroyed.
Yeah, those have to be destroyed, right? Both of them have to be destroyed. Exactly, same idea. It's Soisa Manas Livnos. So it's the same idea. In order for Manas Livnos, something b'mkaimoi has to be the Soisa. The Soisa, the binyan has to be a better binyan than the Soisa. So that's what he says. But the first Beis Hamikdash, second Beis Hamikdash was Barnash. People created the Beis Hamikdash. It should be a binyan of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It should come down L'mayla. Binyan Nitzchi. L'chein ho yochur mal Beis Hamikdash sheni al menas l'saken live the Beis Hamikdash sukken. Beis Hamikdash yibana the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Nimsha churm shabbat yam Mikdash hu adrabe. They get the binyan loy churban v'stira. Not only is not a churban, but that's the binyan. That's part of the construction. If I'm destroying something only in order to create something else. You look at a construction site. There's a big building. You implode the building to build something else. The implosion of the building is part of the process of building the next thing. Because the only way you can build a better building is if you destroy the first thing. So the destruction is for the point of the construction. Okay. This is the idea of this brach, of the idea of the churban and the kivui, the destruction and the desire. Now, so The next bar mokim is like this. Is a smak. Sefer Mitzvah's cotton. It's in the Rishonim. And he says this is a mitzvah. So the mitzvah is like this. He says part of the mitzvah of Anoich Hashem Lekecha, the mitzvah of Anoich Hashem Lekecha, that a person has to be a mom and Anoich Hashem Lekecha. You have to believe in one in Hashem. He writes like this. Okay. It says, Chazal say, that after 120, the question is asked, are you mitzapah l'Yeshua? Where does it say this mitzvah? Where does it say tzabis l'Yeshua? The question is tzabis l'Yeshua. Well, so I wasn't mitzapah. I didn't wait for salvation. Who said I have to do that? We know, kishem sheyesh lon lahamen. Just like a person has to believe, Amunah is part of the belief, is to believe that that Hashem is one. Just like you believe, part of his Amunah is to believe that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. Just like you have to believe that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim in the past, I'm your God. So what does it mean? Ani Hashem Lekechem says the smak. Ani Hashem Lekechem means I'm your God. Means Avani Asid Lekabetz Eschem Leishichem. That's what it means to be Leishua. When it says Asher Tzesi Yasam Ani Ani Hashem Lekechem means I took you out in the past, and you believe that I took you out in the past. If you believe that I took you out in the past, you have to believe also that I'm going to take you out in the future. And part of the mitzvah of Amunah, of Amanas Alakus, to believe in the Eibishter, is not only to believe in Hashem. I believe in Hashem. Okay, I believe that there's a Creator. That's not good enough. To believe in the Creator means to believe in the possibility of Yeshua. Yeshua Klalis, obviously, a general Yeshua, a general salvation, but Yeshua Pratius. A person says, I'm a Mamim Hashem, but I'm depressed. I'm a Mamim Hashem, but I'm hopeless. But I don't believe in the future. I don't believe in the possibility. If you're Mamim Hashem and you don't believe in a possibility, then you're not Mamim Hashem. It's a chasar in the Munah. And Munah means a person has to believe in Hashem. It part and parcel, it means that I believe in the Creator. I believe in the Boira. I believe is also a Mashiach. I believe that there's I'm not stuck. That there's nothing. There's always a possibility. There's a word from Rav Ashlag. He says that by Rishoyim it says Rachim Rishoyim Yeshua, and at Tzaddik it says Kikrev Yeshua Silavi. So he says that the difference between a tzaddik and a rasha, so it's a heavy word. He says the difference between a tzaddik and a rasha is that a rasha is a person that lives without Yeshua. That rachik mirashayim, a person says it's rachik. I'm stuck. There's no possibility for me to get out of the situation. That's the definition of a rasha. The definition of a tzaddik is someone says Kikrev Yeshua Silavi, that I'm close to Yeshua. Because why does Rav Ashlag say that? Because that's what it means to be a Mamin B'Hashem. To be a Mamin B'Hashem means that I believe that I'm not stuck. That the situation looks very bleak and it's hard. I'm going through a hard situation and I don't understand how I'm going to get out of it. But if I'm Mamin B'Hashem, that's what it means. I'm Mamin B'Hashem. I'm Mamin that there's a boyer that's going to bring a Yeshua. Yeah.
Wouldn't the belief in Moshiach should be before this?
This is Moshiach.
You think, maybe the Americans gonna save me, but maybe Moshiach gonna come. If you believe in Moshiach, everything else basically is supposed to be like very much secondary.
I don't understand what you're saying. So what?
Like personal issue, let's say person's concentration camp.
Yeah.
This person issue to get out. All think you believe there's Moshiach supposed to come. Each one has to believe like first. If you believe
it's part of the same thing. That's what you're saying. It's part of the same thing. There's no separate thing. I believe that the world is moving. This is the oimik of es Temach Dovid Avdcha. What are we saying as Temach? What are we saying it's Temach? Temach it's tzimach, and it's growth. We're saying that we believe, that's what you're saying, is that what we believe when we're saying I'm a Mammon B'Kadosh Baruch Hu, I believe in Hashem, which I believe that the world is in a process of tzmicha. That's what I believe. The world is constantly in a process of sprouting. It's very different to say. It doesn't mean that I say Aschalta de Gula. I don't have to say that. I don't say the Moshiach is also Kemiya. I believe that there's an Hagas HaYichud and there's an Hagas HaMishpat. There's a way of Kadosh Baruch Hu who's acting in the world of a way of Mishpat, and the world is moving towards a place of Yichud. The arch of history is moving upward. Now, it doesn't mean there's no peaks and valleys. Things move in different directions. But the overarch of history is always getting better, holier, higher, and deeper, closer to the place of Yichud. It doesn't mean that the flip side of that is no kfir and other things that also part and parcel of the same condition. But if you pull back in the picture of history, to be a Mamen HaKadosh Baruch Hu means to believe in Hashem, means to believe that the world has an objective, the world has a direction, it's moving towards someplace, and I'm Mamen that it's going to get to that place. And not only a Mamen like a theoretical Mamen, a Munah that I have like, okay, yeah, I believe, but I sense it, I feel it, and I embody it. That there's a tzmicha on creation. There's a constant movement, that the world is always moving forward and upwards and getting closer. Now again, there's peaks and valleys, things go, but the overarching arc of history is moving upwards. This is what it means to be a Mamen HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Part of this Mamen HaKadosh Baruch Hu means that there'll be an ultimate redemption, that everything, the whole world will reach its completion. The whole world will reach its shleimus, and that also I will reach my shleimus. Individually, that I will reach my shleimus. Lo yidach men nidach. If it's going to be this life, and maybe be in the next life, hopefully be in this life, that I will able to reach my shleimus. But that the ruach tashav elokim shanasana, that every neshama will get to its place of shleimus. Right? That's the whole sefer of Sefer Gigulim and Ari and Shari Gigulim is to say this word, is to say this thing, that your neshama starts off here and it's going to get to its completion. It's going to reach the place of shleimus. It can take 1 lifetime, 10 lifetimes, 100 lifetimes, but eventually it's going to get, you're going to learn a lesson, eventually you're going to get to the place. The same thing goes in your life. Eventually you're going to get to a better place. You have to be Mamen in it. If you don't Mamen in it, you're just going to fall backwards. But you have to be Mamen in the tzmicha, in the movement of Krevi Yeshua Silave, that Yeshua is always a possibility, and I'm moving towards that direction. This is why we say when a person is, the Gemara says that before when you're nifter mechaver, you say lech lishalim. You go to peace. But if I'm someone that passes away, you say lech b'shalom, go in peace. You say go in peace. What's the difference? You're saying that shalom is shleimus, is perfection. You tell a person that's alive, lech lishalim. You're in the process of becoming, you're getting better. You're always moving towards shleimus. When a person passes on, you say b'shalom, you already reach peace. There's no more movement for you. But in Olam Hazeh, this world is the place of bechira and the place of choice and the place of growth. So you say that this is what is to be a Mamen HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What does it actually mean to be a Mamen HaKadosh Baruch Hu? To be a believer. To be a believer means to believe in Ani Hashem Seisach Tzayim and Moshiach. Tzapisa Yeshua. Tzapisa Yeshua, that I long for Yeshua, is an absolute part and parcel of what it means to be a Mamen HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's the same thing. There's no saying, I believe in Hashem, in the Creator, but I don't believe that the world has a purpose. That doesn't make any sense. I believe in Hashem, therefore I believe that the world is going to get its purpose, and is constantly moving towards that direction. That's the tzmichas agula, the tzmicha of moving further and further. This is the nekuda of this vart. Now,
Is the goal to have Bas Shalom?
we're going to talk about, that's a good child. We're going to explain this. Of course, I know you're going to go there, so we're going to get to you. But we're going to. This is the violet. This is the first step. The first step is it's a piece of Yeshua that I'm yearning, I'm longing for shleimus, for completion, for wholeness, to get to that place of that bliss, whatever you want to call it. Begashmis, beruchnis, pratis, klolis, in your individual life and your collective life. It's brought down. The Torah brings down also that there's 20 oisius. There's 20 words in this tefillah, and 20, of course, is in Hebrew is esrim, and esrim is keser. Same gematria. Esrim is keser. So keser is 6.
It's also chaf.
Kiani.
Lech lecha, one of the tzaddikim says that
Yeah.
meaning of imagination
Yeah.
in the Bas Ayin.
Yeah. The what?
Meaning that you have to employ your imagination.
Okay, excellent. By the way, this is excellent because we talk about Adam. We talk about a person. Adam. What it means to be a human being. Adam means someone that's medamalalian, which is koyach hadimi. The person has imagination, and Adam is gematria shema, which is what? Which is a question. Which means you have to dream and ask questions. That's what it means to be a person. To be human is to dream. To be human is to ask questions. Kavma, correct. Mikvah is kavma, correct. That's a different nekuda. Kavma is.
But you have to have.
Yeah. Kavma is
The content of the
correct. We're gonna actually, maybe I don't know if we're gonna talk about it, but this is kavma. It's like a trip. This is the idea of esrim. Esrim is gematria keser. Now Keser is 620. 620 is Yesh. It's 2 Yesh, right? Also Kodesh Baruch Hu call it Shai Elamis. Shai Elamis is 310. 310 is 620. 620 is Yesh. What is Keser? Keser is the chibur of Yesh and Yesh. Or to say it a little different, like the Ramak says, the Keser is the Ani and Ayin, right? Or Ki Ani. Anoichi is Ki Ani, is Keser Ayin. Keser Ani. So the Keser is the unification between Ayin and Ani, between existence and non-existence, between fullness and emptiness, between Yesh and Yesh and Ayin. Okay, let's hold this for this Kavanah for a second. So this is the idea. Okay, yeah. Shalom, God, there's a. The pasuk says when satim mahalchim and oimim ma'ela in the pasuk in Zechariah that talks about mahalchim is a mahalach, someone that's moving, someone that's dreaming, someone that's going. That's the definition of a human being. So the definition, it's going to be important to understand this. The definition of a human being is a person that has desire, that longs for things, that asks questions, that wants to grow. Adam Lam Yivol, the person is created to create. The nature of a human being, to be human, to be fully human being, is to be shy of something, to desire something, to move. This guy in the Or Hashemer, Chazoi Kreskes, has a question that later I saw also in the Memorim. He asked the same shaila. What is the tchun of a person? Which way is it more? What's more a better property of a person? For a person to desire or to quench their desires? To have the desire or to be the desire should be fulfilled? And of course the answer is what? To have the desire itself. Just to be alive is to have desire, which means the desire is the longing. The longing is the mahalchim. So there's a concept of tsepisa, that I longed for something, I yearn for something, I'm leich lishalom, I'm going towards peace. There's always something that's more that I want to achieve in this world. That's part of what it means to be a human being. Right? Gaguyim, correct. Same as it. Yeah. Correct, than the actual receiving it. Correct. So this is the gaguyim. And the gaguyim, the pshat in the gaguyim, in that longing, is that's where the human becomes. That's where the capacity to be human is actually defined. If you want to say what is a human being is defined by their gaguyim and their desires, their longing, and their asking. So this is an important part of this whole ma'aser. So Dari writes the next shtickle, Temach Dovid middle Temach. So Dari writes that Temach is Yechavon l'shem Havaya Eke, l'shem Havaya Adnai, Gematria Temach. So we'll hold a second. See, so this is the Fanari. That when you say l'shoscha kavina kol hayoyim, it means tzapisa Yeshua. Did you desire Yeshua? Sha'atem and mekaven l'shoscha baruch Hu. You should mekaven that I'm talking one of these people. I'm one of the people that always desires that akivu l'shoscha kavina kol hayoyim, that I desire for Hakadosh Baruch Hu. So what is Shem Eka and Shem Havaya, Shem Eka and Shem Adnai? So there's a yichud. It's not a yichud shalom, right? This is not the full yichud, but it's 138. So that's Temach. The 138 is Eka, which is it's 21 and 26, and Havaya 26 and Shem Adnai, which is 91. 138. So the Ari says you should mechaven these two shemus. Why should you mechaven these two shemus? In simple oisius, the reason why you should mechaven these shemus is because Shem Eka, Aleph Hey, the Yud and the Hey represents the process of becoming, of longing, right? It'll be in the future tense, which means that's bikush, that's kivui. I'm hoping for the future. That's Shem Eka. So that's one thing, and the that's Hashem Hashem with Shem Eka, and Shem Havaya with Shem Aleph Al Yud. Aleph Al Yud is Aleph Din. It's the reality of it's the floor. In Kavanah Mikveh, it's actually the floor of the mikveh, which means it's the reality of what is right now. So it's like I'm becoming aware of the reality right now, and I have bikush and have desire and longing for a world. I'm being pulled by a future world, right?
Is a shame Hashem said is a gula.
Wait, so Vartas gonna. So Eke is also Shem Shel is Keser, right? Eke could be Bino or Keser, and that's Shem Shel Gula. So the truth is that the yichud of Shem Hashem and Eke, and the yichud of Shem Hashem and Adnai, Aleph Tal Nun Yud, is also the difference in what is called Yichud Elah and Yichud Tata. In the level of Shem Havaya and Eke, where Eke is just a state of becoming, and this madrega of Keser, it's Ayin. Lamaila is Ayin, Lamata is Yesh. It's Ayin. So it is Lamaila is Yesh, Lamata Ayin. That's Yichud Ilah. That's higher unification, which means the world doesn't exist. Right? And that perception of the reality, the world doesn't exist. It's an illusion. It's empty. It's nothing. Okay, that's one reality. In the Yichud Havaya Ad Aleph Daled Nun Yud, the world does exist. How do you know the world exists? Because I'm touching it. I'm feeling it. My feet are on the ground. So that's the level of Yesh. So the difference between Yichud Ilah and Yichud Hatah is one says that the world is Ayin, and the Ayin is completely nullified to the ultimate Yesh. One says that it's a Yesh that comes from an Ayin. Right? So Yichud Hatah is Yesh, says it's Yesh, I exist, and I come from something that's Ayin. But I'm dependent on something that's higher. That's one paradigm. And the higher paradigm, Yichud Ilah, is I don't exist. There's nothing to exist. Right? It's only Ayin. That's Shem Eka and Shem Adnai. The Yichud of Temach, which is going to be important to understand, the Yichud of Temach, which is, again, Temach, the idea of growth, is the essential piece of this whole story, is that there has to be growth. Growth, generally, is Shem Eka. I don't accept what is now. I'm moving into the direction of something in the future. But what Ari is saying is that there has to be Yichud between these two things. There has to be Yichud between Havaya and Eka and Havaya Aleph Daled Nun Yud. We'll understand it, but that's really the Yichud, which we're going to talk later, is the Yichud between the Yichud between Yichud Ilah and Yichud Hatah. Okay. Is everyone following? Baruch. Okay. Kilu Shwascha Kvina Kol Hayoim. So just a very the next page, not this page. We'll look at the next from the Chidah. The next page is B'Tzela Chachma. It's a sefer that was written on different yichidus and conversations that the Rebbe had with the different Rebbes that came. This is a conversation with the Pnei Menachem and the Lubavitcher Rebbe. So the Rebbe tells him like this. He says, Yesh and Ayin. So Yesh and Ayin, like some people have tainas that animarish tomid ki yesh tzapos b'yis shvim b'chol yom v'yom. That I say if you have a tzapos from Moshiach every single day, shav yom zeh mamish, and mamish Moshiach doesn't come right now. So he says the nesi efeliris ba'agoda shenit v'shashan. He says that the Agoda that was printed, the Brisker Agoda was printed that year. I don't think the Brisker Agoda, the little brown saver. The Brisker Agoda, this is Mem-Dalet, Tash Mem-Dalet, or in Gimel. The Brisker Agoda was printed. He says I actually saw in the Brisker Agoda b'shem Revel v'la Brisker, b'shem the Brisker of that ki apir shachakal b'chol shiyavay hu b'chol yom mamish. So it says when he says "Achakal b'chol yom sheyavoy" means not b'chol yom. Achakal b'chol yom sheyavoy means I'm achaka once a day. B'chol yom, every single day. I'm achaka once a day sheyavoy. But the Briskerov says no. Achakal b'chol yom sheyavoy means b'chol yom, the whole day. That the whole day I'm achakal and biyasei. And he says yes. L'shvos chakivir kol hayom. Yesh l'kal tzad l'shich kol hayom kol rega v'rega mamish. So what's pshat? How do you live? Okay, so it's a nice word, and it's a brisker word. Okay, it's a pshat in the Rambam. Achakal b'chol yom sheyavoy. But what does it actually mean? What does it mean? Achakal b'chol yom sheyavoy. You're living every single moment for tzapisa l'Yeshua. What does it actually mean? There has to be. There's like a posture, a mindset that you're living. So the truth is, the Rambam writes that chol mishein amami boy ve'en achakal b'yosei lo b'shan avim hu koifer ela b'koifer b'toyer b'Moshe Rabbeinu. That not only do you have to be mitzapa, mamin boy, not only do you have to believe that there's a possibility of Yeshua, of redemption, there's a possibility of Moshiach, but you have to be shein machakal b'yosei. You have to be machakal b'yosei. You have to await b'yas Moshiach every month. This is Allah in the Rambam. You have to await your machakal b'yosei. And if you're not machakal b'yosei, if you're not a person that's machakal b'yosei, you're not only a koifer b'toyer, not only in Nevi'im, but you're koifer b'toyer or Moshe Rabbeinu. What's mechakal b'chol yom? What does it actually mean? What does it actually mean to mechakal b'chol yom sheyaveh? You mechaka, you desire to connect HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to connect this idea of kol yom. Pshat is like this. There are two ways how we can live our life. One way to live our life is that we're defined by our past, and our past, unfortunately, collectively, has been in Golus. And we define ourselves by Golus. We're Golus Yidden. What does it mean I'm a Golus Yid? My response to how I live my life today, in this very moment, is a reaction to how I live, how life was lived 50 years ago, 100 years, 1,000 years ago. How life was lived in Golus throughout the generations. I'm living in response to that mindset. So what's the mindset of a Golus Yid? The mindset of a Golus Yid is, defensive, reactive, quiet. This is the way we survive in general. This is the history of Klal Yisrael. But it's I'm being defined by my past. That's one way of looking at this world. Then there's another way. Is Machaka b'chol yom sheyaveh. Machaka b'chol yom sheyaveh means, what do you mean? A person is tzapis l'Yeshua every single second. I'm tzapis l'Yeshua. I'm waiting for Moshiach. It means I define myself, and I define the way I practice and the way I'm Oived Hashem. I define myself not by my past, but the possibility of my future. That's what it is. I'm being pulled by a possibility of the future. I'm not defining myself, even in the Adam Prati, in your own personal life. You'll say, I did this Aveir yesterday. Okay, I'm a Bal Aveir. So therefore, I'm going to struggle. I'm going to fight myself. And this is my story. And I'm a Shlomazal. I never made money. Whatever the story is, whatever the past was, that's defining me. That's the opposite of Tzapis Yeshua. Amachaka b'chol yom sheyaveh means I live with a mindset that I am attached to a possibility of a glorious future. For Klal and Prat, yeah?
That's nature versus nurture.
Okay, comes on, yeah. What? Okay, whatever, yeah. but the Nakuda is, yeah, it's the Nakuda is that I'm living with a state of mind that is being pulled by a future, a possibility of a future. You say, let's say, am I ever going to become a tzaddik? Am I ever going to become something? Of course, that's my future. How do I know it's my future? Because we just said before that the whole idea of Mamam and Moshiach is that the world will reach Olam HaYichud. That every person will reach the Gula of Gila Mashiach, Shebenefesh Adam. In your Nefesh Adam, reach Yichidish Benefesh. That's your goal. That's eventually, it's going to get to that place. So how am I defining myself? I'm defining myself what's going to be. I'm being pulled by a future, not being defined by my past. That's the difference between a mentality between defensive and offensive, between reactive or proactive. The idea of to be a Yid that's a Machaka b'chol yom sheyaveh doesn't mean a guy. I'm not saying it doesn't, but it doesn't necessarily mean a person standing by his door with a little pekala and he's ready to go to Mashiach. Maybe there were tzaddikim like that. He used to go to sleep and they pack their bags. But it means, if it means b'chol rega v'rega, that can't mean that, because you can't stand by your door, wait the whole day for it to be pulled out with for Mashiach. But it means that your mindset is not defined by Golus, it's not defined by past, it's not defined by Averis, it's defined by Yechidish Benefesh, it's defined by the future, it's defined by Moshiach. This is a Machaka b'chol yom shirega. B'chol yom yimetzapa li Yeshua. Kivinu kol hayom. Look at the shtickle from the Chida. The Chida writes a very nice shtickle, but it's the page before that. That is afilu ein biyad yisrael akivu kedaya lugula. B'schar akivu shem ataymer of a kotzer. Se kaval Hashem. Chazik yam tzveh kaval Hashem. Linshat kaval shuvu kavi. That a person says, what is the schar that Klal Yisrael is going to be nigal? Why? What's the schar? He says the schar is the kivui. The kivui itself, the hope for the geula, is the schus. That's itself, that we live in a way that other kotzer, that we say, okay, the season passed and it's going to be, and yet we still kavi v'hadi v'kavi, that we continuously believe. And that's what he says b'shem azedi Yesh and Ayin. Temach Dovid Meher Tazmiach v'karn tom b'shusecha kilu shvasa kvina kol hayom. What's shot in the tefillah? We say, as Temach Dovid Hashem should bring Moshiach. Why kilu shvasa kvina kol hayom? Because we want it. So you want it. Well, Hashem should give us refuah because we want refuah. It doesn't say that. We should bring Moshiach. You should bring redemption. Why? Because we desire it. He says that's the answer. Because is what brings the gula. Because that the schar of the kivui is what brings the gula.
This is why we need the darkness in order for the...
Exactly. It's not only pshat that we're mekava in a place of darkness, and the kind of darkness. The reason why there is dark is so there should be the kivui, and the kivui is actually what brings the Mashiach. What brings the gula, the oil of the gula, is the kivui to the gula.
An engendering force.
An engendering force. Excellent. Yes. This is the word. Okay, now we have to go a few trep, a little bit.
That's why the day starts with the night, no?
That's what the Maral says. That's what he says. That the Maral says it.
And the first Gemara.
Yeah.
I think it was truly Lordstein brought a makor from the Chasam Sofer why the period of tahara for a male child, a female child being born.
Yeah.
Because there's two kivuys that are put out. When the female...
Right. Because she herself is the mother.
She herself is the mother.
Yeah. Let's go another trap here. If we have time, we'll go through this. But this is a very important nekuda here, which is like this. Talk about kivu. We're desiring. This is an important. We're desiring. We're longing for shleimus, for the world of shleimus, for the world of perfection. That we get to the place, a world of lekina lesachros, yeah, madana matzurin ka'afer, like the writes. This is the world of no jealousy and no hate and etc. Now, in regular desire, when we long for something, let's say a person desires to eat a piece of cake, for example. When you receive the desire to eat the cake, so then your desire is even more augmented. It's like let's say a person that likes sweets. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So you desire to eat sweet. Then when you eat the sweet, it's even better because now you're actually eating the sweet. So here's something very paradoxical there because we're desiring perfection, but by definition, perfection doesn't have desire. So in the way Chazal say, the Gemara says in Brachas, it's going to be Yom Shem L'Chefetz, days without desire. So your desire, your mitzapali, you desire. What are you desiring? You're desiring a reality that doesn't have desire. So that in itself is a paradoxical statement. And first of all, what does that mean to be in a world that doesn't have desire? And what does it mean to be human? Because the Rambam also writes in the same halachas, Kishita Shmuel. This is a Shita Rav, Shita Shmuel, but let's say Shita Shmuel is which means that will be the idea of Moshiach time will be shleimus. I think I'm good. That'll be shleimus. So if there's shleimus, there's geula, and the shleimus is the absence of desire. How can we desire something that doesn't have absence of desire? Now you can say I desire because I don't know what it is. So I don't know, but if it's a real desire and a real tzipur for something that's absent of desire, what does it mean that I have absence of desire? And what does it actually mean to live in a world that's absence of desire? What does it actually mean? So,
I want a car. I want a car. So I have this car. I lost this sense of desire.
no, it's not true. By the way, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. It's actually this is famous. This is Menachem writes. I mean, it's famous. It's oyev kesef le'yizbe kesef. It's fakert. When you have it, you want even more. The fulfilling a desire actually doesn't empty desire. No. When you have the car, you want even one more pitch of kesef, a better car, and with better tires, and this doesn't end that way. Correct. No, it doesn't work like that. That's why mammon is mammon. It's mem and mem and nun and vav. It's this.
The entire character trait of yearning.
Yes.
Is only for that thing, but once that comes, yearning is no longer.
That's what I'm asking. How does that work? Yeah, I agree. That's true. You yearn for something that when you reach it, there's absence of yearning.
But that's in a very specific case. You want this
Let's understand it. And also the real question is, forget about this particular question. The real question is, what does it actually mean to live in a world that's absence of desire? If the whole function of the human being, the whole drive of the human being is their desire, that's what we long for. We yearn, we imagine, we hope, we dream. That's what we're saying. That's what we're saying as a human being. That's what we're saying. It's to be a mom in our Kadosh Baruch Hu to do that. So how does it work within a world? We say that we reached the shleimus, like b'shalom, we found shalom. So we found shalom. So what do you do now? Exactly. That was the Sachman. Yeah. Correct. Okay, this is another shaila, by the way. The Even Ezra has a shaila. The Even Ezra, but the Geschmack of word from Michael Zlotchever. He says, "Ani Hashem the first and the last are the same thing. When you take a mamra Kadosh Baruch Hu, then there's lo Sachman." Okay, let's.
Desire is the thing.
Sachman is the desire. You're telling him.
I understand, but it's mamish. It's ani Hashem. That's it. That's it. There's shleimus. There's shleimus. There's no hachmed. I don't know. That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking. I'm not saying it yet. I just want to understand this. I'm saying if the tzedakah seems what it is, if shleimus is the absence of desire, then what kind of shleimus is that? What kind of shleimus is that with absence of desire?
Desires that need to be constrained.
That's something else. I'm talking about a gewaltige desire. Desire for it's a piece of Yeshua. I want the world should be healed. I want people to be not to be sick. I want people to be healthy. And then everyone's healthy and everyone's good. Okay, now what?
But in a true state of satiation,
Yeah.
you're not looking for the next thing.
Correct. So the question is, in a true state of satiation, that's my question. What does it mean to be a human being in that state of satiation? What does it mean? What's the tsuras Adam in this screen?
Constant state of hafla,
Oh, there's a
constant
okay, let's
unfolding.
okay, let's hold for a second. Let's just hold for a second. Let's see if there's oasis for this. And these are everyone's saying the correct things, but let's see if there's oasis. The oasis is like this. In Keser, this is from the Siddur Marid. Siddur Marid is the Einikel of Temach Dovid, the Liyad Rebbe. Temach Dovid עבדך מהרה תצמיח, ועבדי דוד מלך לעולם. בזמן הזה, בזמן הגולus, בכינס יוסף למעלה מיהודה. Golus is defined by Yosef. What Shada means to Yosef? It's Moshiach ben Yosef. Remember, it's Yosef. Yosef means Haisafa. Haisafa means added, longing. Yosef ben Achar. You see a child? I already want another child. That's the gather of Yosef. Yeah? He says that the Zman Hazeh is a mahalach of Yosef. Yosef and Yehuda. I'm sorry. Nimmst du Ruben Shvat und Yosef und Yehuda. Shal Shem zeh nikr Yosef ki hu das Elyon. This is das Elyon. Aval also if Yischaber name Yosef and Yehuda biyachad, when Yosef and Yehuda will become together, Yigashel Yehuda say Shava, which becomes a Yigashel Yehuda means that they're unified, then Yis'ala Yehuda Yid David ben Yishai Beroish. Pirush Yishai is the son of Yishai. Yishai is Beis Pam Yishai Elamus. Yesh and Ayin, Beis Pam Yishai Gematria Keser Tarach. Okay, Reisha Delay Yada and B'Shava Shu B'Chinas Radla. Okay, this is a lot of big oasis, but I'm just going to say in very, very simple language what this means is like this. There's Yehuda Lo, Yehuda Tata. There's Yehuda and Yosef. Yosef means Haisafa, something that's adding. Therefore, the what Yosef represents. That's why Kal Yisrael are called Noach Katzon Yosef. The reason why we're called Yosef, Hashem Yosef Nikru, because the definition of Olam Hazar or Galus, exile, is the world of ambition, desire, longing. I want one thing to get another thing, I want another thing. Okay, that is one posture. That's one way of thinking. The Madreg of Yehuda is Oidcha. Oidcha Hashem. I'm moidel. I'm humble. I'm satisfied. I'm satiated. I don't need anything. That's Yehuda, right? Upon Oidas Hashem, I'm thankful. I'm grateful for everything that I have. The bittul, the idea of nullification or humility, is Yehuda. Yosef is a safa, something that's moving forward. Yehuda today is, if you want to be magda these two things, one will be the place of ambition, of desire, of longing, and one is the place of satiation, where I feel complete and whole. That's Yehuda. Most times, most people function in the physical world from a place of Yosef. The other paradigm, what it represents, is Yehuda. Today, the world functions in the place of Yosef. La'asad lava, it'll be v'avdi David nasa aleim lo'elam, that Yehuda will rise, which means that it'll be in a place of satiation. But it'll be vayigash el Yehuda was lashon shava, which means shava means that they'll be unified. There'll be unification between Yosef and Yehuda, the Madrega of Yosef and Yehuda, which means Yehuda lo Yehuda tata. In the world of Yehuda tata, the world of lower unity, which is lamata yesh l'mayla ayin. Lamata yesh is fullness of existence. I want, I desire, I long, I want to create. That's my fullness of being, of human, what it means to be a human being. In the world of Yichudei Allah, upper unity, it's Oida Hashem. Everything's Hashem. Everything's Kadosh Baruch Hu. There's no movement. There's no process. There's no development. Everything's perfect. You follow? That's the difference between Yosef and Yehuda. Today, the world of Yosef, Las Love is the world of Yehuda. But in the world of Yehuda, what the Marid is saying, the Las Love in the world of Yehuda, there'll be a Yichud between Yichudei Allah and Yehuda Tata, which means it's not going to be only Yehuda Ilah. Yehuda Ilah would mean it would only be the absence of all existence, and it'll only be a likus, only be the Hashem's presence in this world, and therefore the game's over, shleimus. But there'll be also Yosef in the paradigm of Yehuda. In the paradigm, in the unfolding of the state of Yehuda, they'll also with the state of satiation, of perfection, of wholeness, there'll also be Yosef. What's pshat? How does this work? So I don't know if we should. Yeah, we'll just learn a few more of the oases over here. The next is a Mayim Pasach Leo. It's also a Mayim from the Bavcha, from the Rebbe, like this. He writes like this. The Kamoishu B'inyan Hashem is the Shem Avayu Das El and Hashem Elokim Das Tachin. I'm sorry. Next. Vur B'drushim the Shtei Deis Im Emes. It says Kel Deis Hashem. Kel Deis Hashem means these are the Deis of Hashem. The Zohar says that Deis, plural, is Das Elyon and Das Tachin. Das Elyon is Lamata Ayin, nothing. Lamaila Yesh. Existence is really beyond this world. Das Tachin is Lamata is Yesh, Lamaila Zayin. Kel Deis Hashem, when the Pasuk says Kel Deis Hashem, says that they're both emes. Because it's both said Kel Deis. It's not that one day and the other day. Kel Deis Hashem, that both these things represent Kel Deis Hashem. They're both emes. The Shteim Yeshlam Shoyesh Ba'atzim Sein Soif Baruch Hu. They both have a shoyesh in the gilui of the Ein Soif, of the revealing of the Ein Soif, the infinite light. Shul Lamaila Maila and Ketz. The oil is Lamaila Maila and Ketz, Ulamata Lamata Adin Tachlis. And it goes and penetrates all the way down. Vishneim Shoyesh Das Tachem, Das Elyon. Shemtzad Gila and Soif, Shu Gila B'chol Makel Lamata Mata Adin Tachlis, Kulik Mechel Echoshiv, Das Elyon Shalmata Ayin. When there's a revelation of Mata Mata Adin Tachlis, that the oil is Nimshach, draws down into Lamata Mata Adin Tachlis, then there's no Metzias of Yesh, it's Das Elyon, and Lamata is Ayin. The below becomes nullified as Ayin. Umitzad Helam Dein Soif Baruch Hu, Shu Mis'ala Batzmus and Malam Alin Ketz, Hanivroim Metzias Yesh, Das Tachlis Shamata Yesh. But from the Helam, when there's a Giloy in the other direction, that allows for the Metzias of Yesh. So there's Mitzad Maila and Ketz, Mata and Tachlis. One is Yesh, that's one thing. But if you turn the page, he writes that so if this will explain that the 2 days explain these two things, Lamaila and Ketz, or Lamata and Tachlis. Are you following? It's clear? Yeah? Shtei days, I mean, Echad. The next page. These are one thing. It's general. It's two separate things. In order for it to be a yichud between Yehuda Ilah and Yehuda Tata, there has to be a gila that's higher than Lamaila than Ketz, or Lamata and Tachlis. Now this is the pshat. Pshat is like this. In Ein Soif, if something has a gila, an expression, then it has dargas. That's the definition of something that has, which means if I say there's a beam of light, I say there's a beam of light, and the shoyesh of this is the beam of light is here, and the light extends all the way to the next room. So there's adragas. The light is more intense in the beginning, less intense when it goes further, right? So in the world of oil, there's already hagdaras, which is that it's more intense, less intense, and less intense. Then there's something that's not the oil. The oil is already an expression of alikus. It's an expression of divinity. It's not Hashem himself. It's the oil is a gilui of the moir, the source of the light. The source of the light, or even the atzmius of the light.
It's not even the moir.
It's not the moir. In other words, let's think about this in a human being. There's a part of you that's expressive. I can tell you, I know what you think. I know what you feel, right? Because I know what you feel, certainly. I know what you do, because that's the most expressive. I can know how you feel, because I can see how you're expressing it. I know how you think, because you generally tell your thoughts to me. But I don't know you, right? The person himself, the Kodesh HaKadoshim within the person, no one knows. The only person that knows that person is you. Your atzmius, your gilui is revealed to the other person. You could try to reveal yourself, but you're using giluyim, you're using the properties of revelation, and by definition, it's not this thing in itself. The only thing in itself is the thing in itself, right? The atzmis of the thing is only you, is the thing, right? Thing one, thing two. This is the thing in itself. This is, some people don't know the reference, so the idea is the thing in itself is the atzmis of the dover, the atzmis of the dover. The same thing also with likus. You talk about the gilui likus, you'll say there's a gilui that's revealed as l'mayla and the Ketz, l'mata and tachlis. It's revealed very high, very low. That's a gilui. But then when you say Yehuda Ilah, Yehuda Tata, there's sometimes a gilui that says the world exists, and sometimes it says the world doesn't exist. Sometimes the world is a yesh, and sometimes perception says the world is an ayin. But from the atzmi is from the atzmis hadavar, from the thing in itself, yesh and ayin is one thing. A yesh appears as a yesh, and ayin appears as ayin. But the em is the yesh and ayin are one. It's only in the level of the gilui. In other words, let's think about this differently. If here's a revelation, if I turn on a flashlight, kaviyachol, it's there's atzmis in me, and I'm pulling out a flashlight, and the flashlight has different levels of light. I could say the different levels of light is comparison to the light, but in comparison to me, this is all just external things to me. It's not me. Or if I'm a Kadosh Baruch Hu, then it's all me. In other words, from the level of atzmius, from the level of the atzmius, behind in the moir, there's yesh and ayin is not a steer to each other. It's only a steer in the level of gilui. If I say this is this, and this is contradictory to that, that's only in the world of properties. I say the emotion of chesed is opposite of the emotion of gvura. They can't exist simultaneously, but they do in me, right? They don't do in my expression. It's very hard for me to reveal kindness and openness, a full expansion of chesed, while simultaneously wearing gvura. But if you ask me, do I have gvura with me? Of course, I have chesed and gvura. I have all the midas. You're following? In my atzmius, I contain both the hafachim of chesed and gvura, because the chesed and gvura, or the gilui and the lack of gilui, is only madregas, only levels in gilui, in revealing. But inside the atzmis, I'm going to contain both of them. So when you ask, is the bria yesh or ayin? Because from the perspective of Yichud Ilah, the bria is ayin, is nothing. From the perspective of Yichud Tata, the bria is a yesh, is existence. So what is it? Well, if you're talking from the bria's perspective, yes, sometimes it seems as an ayin, sometimes it seems as a yesh. But if you're talking about the atzmis perspective, it's yesh and ayin. It's a nice hafachim. It's always together. That's why from Olam HaKeser, it's yesh and ayin. It's ayin v'ani. It's both ayin and ani. It's both nothing and I. That's the madrega of Keser. Okay, this is the nekuda. So the nekuda is the yichud of Yichud Ilah, Yichud Atah. This is also what Lashon HaZoyer is. The Zoyer says that Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad is Yichud Ilah, because it's echad, it's one. There's only one. That's why it's said in the two of Mesiras Nefesh. The Shalach Kadosh writes that before a person says Shema Yisrael every morning, they should mechaven that they're Moisei Nefesh HaKadosh Hashem, which means I give everything up. It's yours. Everything's yours. Not my wife, not my kids, not my family, not my money, nothing. It's all yours. All yours, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's ayin, right? That's echad. That's the true of Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. It's everything. Baruch Shem Kaveh Chus L'Olam V'Ad is Yichud Tatah. That's why you open your eyes when you say Baruch Shem. You close your eyes when you say Shema Yisrael, because you're closing your eyes to existence. You're saying there's nothing. It's ayin. Shema Yisrael is echad. It's nothing. I open my eyes and I look at the world and say, wait a second, I feel a table and cheer. Okay, Baruch Shem Kaveh Chus L'Olam V'Ad Yichud Tatah. Today, the first one has Chaf Oisius, and the second one, Baruch Shem, has Chavdal Doisius. Says the Zohar that lost love, it will be U Baruch Shem with a Vav. What does U Baruch Shem do when you add the Baruch Shem to Shema Yisrael? It makes it a Yichud. It's not Shema Yisrael Hashem Echad is one thing. Yichud Ilah. Baruch Shem Yichud Tata. U Baruch Shem is a Yichud. Yichud Ilah, Yichud Tata is one thing. There's no yesh, ayin, yesh. Everything's one. So what's the oimik pshat here? What's the oimik pshat? The pshat is that when it says Sadikim ein lam menucha loy b'olam haza v'loy b'olam haba. Shnemer yechel mechayel l'choyel. Right, this is the Gemara brachas and the Moed Katan that Sadikim ein lam menucha loy b'olam haza. So the Marsha asked that Sadikim have no rest, not in this world, not in the world to come. The world to come is menucha. Yom Shekul Shabbos. So Yom Shekul Shabbos. What does it mean? That it's rest. So what does it mean? Sadikim ein lam menucha b'olam haza v'olam haba. And the teretz is in the next it's a Hatan al Shas, and in the next Maramakim, it's the tenua that comes from the place of menucha. The tenua that comes from the place of menucha. You understand? That's the word. It's movement that comes from a place of stillness. And this is the answer to the question that we asked before. As Temach Dovid Avdcha is tenua, movement, growth, possibility, future, hope. We're hoping for the time of Shleimus. But you should know that tzmicha never ends. There's always going to be tzmicha. That's why the Rambam, if you look at the Lashon Rambam, it's very pure. The Rambam writes, that the Oisas man, lo yelokina, lo sachrus, madan etzum kafir, v'lo yesek kol kol ela das boirim. The Rambam says that there is going to be an asik. You just said that there's going to be loitin or the sachrus, going to be nothing happening, but there's still going to be an asik. An asik means there's a job. You're a bal asik. What does it mean you're a bal asik? There's something to do. You're doing from a place of being. And when you do from a place of be, There's no tension. There's no jealousy. There's no anger. There's no absence. There's no holes that have to be filled. It's you're coming from a place of tnua, from movement, from a place of shleimus. This is the yichud of yichud lo yichud ata, and this is the yichud of Temach Dovid Avdcha Meir Tzatzmiach. V'kain Torah Meshua Sechu. That he writes that Tzemach is the yichud of Shem Havai Shem Eka Shem Havai Shem Adnai. It's to understand that we're mitzapa her. We're not only mitzapa for the future, that there'll come a time when we're going to reach Moshiach and it's ein guten stark. We're mitzapa for Yeshua, that we should experience the Yeshua in the present moment. Like we say, Rafa'enu Matzmiach Ken Yeshua is not Matzmiach Ken Yeshua La'asilave. Hashem is presently Matzmiach Ken Yeshua, is bringing us a Yeshua. What's the Yeshua is? The Yeshua is that I should be in a place of tzmicha from a place of shleimus. I should take a desire more and long for more without the anxiety and the hurt and the anger and the and everything that comes with it. I should come from my life from a place of shleimus. How do I have the chutzpah to say that I should come from a life of shleimus? Because I'm mitzapah Yeshua. Because I'm not living defining by my past. I'm defining by my future. My future is taka shleimus. And if that's the future that I'm going to reach, b'chayev aprati in my individual life, and that's the future that Klal Yisrael in the world will reach, b'chayev klolim, which means that's the way I'm defining myself. I'm throwing my anchor to the future, and that's how I'm being pulled. That's the kaveh, that's the kivu, that's the line that I'm being pulled. So then I'm taka shleimus. So then I'm still in this olam haz. I'm still in this world. Yeah, but everything changes because now I'm working in this world in a way that there's tzmicha, there's growth, and there's possibility in this future, without all the negativity that comes when there's no yichud between yichud ilah and yichud atah. And the yichud ilah and yichud atah is there's taka ayin and taka yesh and taka working and taka not working. And everything's working together, and everything works smoothly, and everything is going in a very gentle way. Amen. This is the Omek.
That's is already done.
What's smicha? The smicha from now. Yeah. The smicha now. It's another type of smicha. I am smicha. I let's say in simple ways. I am a mammon. When I say a smicha, you start off like the smak says. I'm a mammon by Kadosh Baruch. I believe in Hashem. What it means to believe in Hashem means I believe in the possibility of a future. I believe that we were taken out of Mitzrayim and we'll be taken out of Mitzrayim.
And once that future reaches,
and I believe it. I believe that I'm throwing a line in that direction, which means I'm connecting myself in the present moment as kivinu kol hayoyim. Not just once a day I think about that I'm in the future. I'm attached to the place of hakal b'chol yom sheyovim. I'm attached to that place because I'm attached to that place of shleimus. I act from a place of shleimus. It means my whole tzura and the way I act as a yid is a place of shleimus. I don't want to say that I'm an ish sholem and I'm struggling and I have this and I have this problem and that problem and I'm a kina v'sachris. I don't have kina v'sachris. I'm feeling the geula in the present moment. I'm feeling the place of the tzmicha because I'm pushed. I'm anchored in the future. I'm anchored in the future. You start living like it's a mein olam haba. It's a mein olam haba in the present moment. It's clear.